listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Okay.
You ready for the episode?
On today's episode.
I guess that's you're ready.
I guess so.
Here we go. This is it. You just started it.
I started it?
You started it on
I'm
today's
still
episode.
prepping myself.
Steph, what does today's episode hold?
What?
What does today's episode hold?
Mysteries and magic of the unknown.
What are we going to talk about?
I just told you. First of all, we're going to talk about the itchy eye that I have right now.
Is it cum in your eye? Do you have cum in your eye?
No.
We're going to tell this funny story right off the bat.
No, we're not.
No? Okay, we're not.
Jesus.
We'll have to wait and tell it later on in the episode, so stay tuned. It's definitely coming out at some point.
Pun intended?
Yes, very much pun intended. This is episode 273 of the podcast.
It's all fun and games.
We are into the swing of
here we go.
our double episodes every week. So you're welcome. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm a little thrown off at the moment. So
did I get you?
You did. And I'm sitting here like, I don't remember anything I was going to talk about.
I have something at the forefront of my list.
I had something at the forefront of mine, but you get to take the wheel, Craig.
Take the wheel?
Take the wheel.
Jesus, take the wheel. I had this thought earlier today, and the thought is you and I go through cycles.
Yes, we do.
So individually, obviously, but I don't know if you have awareness. I kind of just had awareness of it today, even though as soon as I had awareness of it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the thing. And I realize it, and intellectually I understand it and everything, right? But in the moment, it was the awareness that as a couple, we go through cycles, and we have like these really good moments of time when we're in sync and it's like in rhythm. Mm-hmm. It's not just a matter of like finishing each other's sentences or knowing what each other's thinking. I mean, it's that, and then multiply that by 10. Like, it's just, we're in this like super good rhythmic flow of life, and it feels so amazing. And that goes away. That doesn't last, right? And then we get into into another type of rhythm and flow. Although it doesn't feel rhythmic or flowy, it feels very disjointed and mixed up and fucked up and frustrating and stressful and chaotic. But there's rhythm in that. And there's a cycle and a rhythm between those two. And even though those might be on the ends of the spectrum, obviously we have a bunch of kind of patterns and routines and rhythms that we find ourselves in. And I just thought, how cool is that? And also, like, it freed me up to be less scared when we're in those shitty rhythm flows.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good.
Typically, when we talk about something deep and profound that affected us, we have more to say than, happy for you. That's nice.
I think I am completely thrown, so you'll have to be patient with me.
By my rhythm and flow conversation?
Well, my experience is you throw me off from the beginning, and then you go into the profound of our cycles, which is either complete bliss or complete shit. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say in this moment. I think I'm just going to, I gotta get a minute. Take a minute. Get into the flow.
Can you feel it?
I can feel it.
Those patterns and those rhythms that we get into.
What I like is that we spend more time on we spend more time on the positive aspect.
It feels like it.
It feels like it. I still get oh my gosh, I am thrown so hard. I can get into the flow. I can.
You're good.
When things are discombobulated and kind of all over the place, when we are attention and we are not connection, I don't find peace in that. Most of the time it throws me.
I don't find peace there either.
I thought you just said you did. You found comfort. Or
no,
did I?
It's very uncomfortable. But having the awareness, because we're not in that place right now.
Yeah, we're not there.
We're in a pretty good rhythm and flow right now of connection. Mm-hmm. But even though we're in this part of the flow, it gave me some solace and some peace for when we're in the other part, recognizing that there is a pattern and a rhythm to it.
Yeah, everything's temporary.
Right?
Yeah, I can see that.
What you just said, the
everything's temporary.
No, the connection versus tension.
Yeah.
Or what, I don't remember how you phrased it. What was it? Was it that?
Something like that. Tension versus connection.
The thing that came to mind was like a rubber band.
Yeah.
Like if we constantly stretched a rubber band out so that it was at full like tension, right? Eventually it would break. And by leaving that rubber band completely relaxed with no tension in it, it's not... Hold on, this is going off the rails.
I can tell.
This was going to be a beautiful metaphor that was going to change our lives.
Okay.
And I think it's not now.
Okay.
It's going to be something along the lines of we have to have both sides of those things, right? We have to have the tension part.
To build the muscle.
Yes. And then we get the relaxed
strengthen the
part.
elastic.
Yes.
And then we get to relax.
Yes. And if we just kept it at tension the entire time, eventually it would snap. And so we have to let it relax. We have to let that pattern come back down and that rhythm to relax. And into these comfortable times.
We need isometric and isotonic movement.
That sounded like some smart massage therapist kind of physical therapy shit.
What can I say?
What's isometric?
Isometric is when you're like doing movements, like reps.
Okay.
So things are getting pulled. And tonic is like tension. So like a static move. So if you were like a plank.
Okay.
A plank is a static move. And a push-up is a isometric move with movement.
I keep hearing tonic, like gin and tonic.
I might be saying it wrong.
I definitely am just hearing it wrong. I just thought that was cool. Like I thought about that concept and I'm like, oh, just having awareness of our cycles, I think is going to be really helpful.
Do you know what's funny? Like, I'm so thrown. We have had this like really beautiful day and all of this connection. And like, that's where we've been at. And so I'm still really in that flow. And that's just how much that shakes me, that you're like, it's either good or it's garbage. And I'm like, I don't know where to go with that. Like, I'm thrown. Like, I'm over here thinking like, oh, you're so wonderful. You're like, when it's good, it's good. And when it's garbage, like, I hate you.
That's not it.
That's like and now I'm making jokes because I was uncomfortable, but I'm like, here we go.
What did we learn about you today?
What did we learn about me?
When it comes to vulnerability?
I don't know.
And what was your satirical?
I believe it was. I don't remember exactly, so you don't get to quote it.
You're so full of shit.
I don't remember exactly.
Steph likes to hide behind her humor, so she gets vulnerable and then she breaks out the slapstick comedy. Pachow.
If you've been listening to this podcast, I'm sure you have not noticed that. I stay in it.
Yes.
I do. All
in
the
it
time.
to win it.
In it. Yeah, I totally. I'm cracking jokes right now.
It's okay.
Why? Because I'm uncomfortable. My mom said that when I was trying to express with her when she was here the need for feelings and feeling feelings and connection and talking about real things. And like, she shut me down quick. She's like, that's not how I was. How did she say it? I'm not going to have it verbatim, and that frustrates because I want to have it verbatim. Like, she's like, that's not how we do it, or that's not how I raise, or something. It was like, you bury it down and cover it with a joke. And she like shut me down hard on that. So I'm like, yeah, like, I get that. I'm trying not to do that anymore. But that's like where the conversation stopped. She's like, we don't feel, we make a joke.
Right.
And just seeing that is so...
Blah.
I like to make the jokes, but it's weird because it's either, I feel like everybody's staring at me. I feel like there's a room. It just got
quiet, didn't it?
It did.
Stephanie's talking, everybody. And it's good. Keep talking.
Throwing me.
The room did just listen.
The part of vulnerability that is challenging on that of talking about feelings is, I think also why you cover it up for a joke is a lot of times it's not safe. So when you realize that you expressing this feeling wasn't safe, then you have to play it off quick to keep the safety. And if you can't lighten the mood, then it feels like it can overpower you and take you out. So it's like, oh, I can't handle this. I can't handle all this pain. So I'm going to quick make a joke. Or if it's a scary situation, if you can get the other person laughing, then you're safe. So there's so many ways that is a, like, been used throughout my life.
How does it feel then now being able to express your emotions in such a vulnerable, like, real way? How does it feel to be able to do that?
Oh, I still make jokes.
I know, but like thinking about it now.
How I can be vulnerable and I can express it.
Yeah, and that you're actually like able to do that and you are doing it. And do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
There's a couple different ways. First of all, it is, it's empowering and it's freeing. It feels like it's taking shackles off. I can communicate when I don't get stuck. Sometimes I still get stuck, but I feel more connected and that I can speak my needs, which allows me to see my boundaries, speak my boundaries, and hold my boundaries. It serves so well. And it's scary. It's so scary. It is so scary. And I hate it. Like the real challenge is when you're vulnerable and it's safe and boundaries are held and it goes well, it's great. And then when you're vulnerable and it kind of teeters and you make the joke and you fix it, it's great. But when you're vulnerable and things don't go ideally and you have put yourself out there and you realize that was not a safe place and you just have to write it without like going to extremes. You just have to feel it and kind of try not to react to it. Realize that it's creating a whole new set of boundaries because now like you're going to keep that person, just like you're going to make sure some good boundaries are up. But to sit in it when it doesn't go well and not like wiggle out of it or react out of it, that's challenging.
That's really hard.
I'm getting a lot of practice at that lately. There's been some things that have not gone well for me.
Yeah.
And I've been like, oh, like really, and trying so hard not to react because it's also like bringing up like awareness with other aspects around it. So with that, clarity came, and to not be like, they're breaching the gates, they're breaching the gates, you know, to not call it out and just breathe and have my experience. I don't know how I'm doing it. I'm doing it so far. I don't know if I'm doing it the right way. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep doing it this way. But I am like spinning in vulnerability that did not go my way and keeping true to myself in it. And you're writing a list and it's making me nervous.
I'm not writing a list.
It's like when you're with your therapist and they start jotting shit down, you're like, God damn it.
Interesting.
Hold on, what was that again?
I want to highlight something actually.
Okay. I'm going to get a drink.
This is from our bath, even though it's not the thing you're thinking of. I might tell that thing. Still undecided whether or not we're going to share that funny story.
I might kick you.
It's funny.
I might.
It's weird about me, not you.
What?
Anyways. You were telling me something that came to you in the bath today. Mm-hmm. And it was awareness around being artistic and drawing something back in the day when you were a kid.
Yes.
And you were sharing all of this. And it was a really, really cool story. And you got done with it. And I just kind of acknowledged, oh, that's cool. And then we moved on. And you're like, hey, I really actually need more acknowledgement. Like my inner child needs to be heard in this moment because that really sucked for me back in the day, being disregarded for this very, this thing that I felt incredibly proud about and excited about. And I could really use some of that now. And that is next level communication, I think, of being able to first off tap into that part of remembering that moment in your childhood, right? And having it, I could tell as you were telling it that it was one of those memories that came back pretty vividly. Mm-hmm. And being able to share it is another important thing and another big step, right? And then being able to recognize, hey, I need way more here, and I am going to ask for that, and I'm going to speak that need. And I'm going to say, hey, wait a minute, pause. I need this actually right now. Could you please do this? And it was so like mature and connected and vulnerable, but also strong, and like the power of recognizing that this was something that you needed in the moment. And you recognized that you didn't get it, and you felt that, and you're like, oh, that really sucks. I need to fix that right now. And I have the opportunity to. I just have to speak it. And you spoke it beautifully. And I think it's so amazing.
Thank you.
And you didn't make any jokes after. Well, maybe some, but that was a big moment.
Thank you.
And I think it was really cool. And I think it highlights stuff that we've been talking a lot about lately on the podcast, is just how much work we've done and how different we feel, and how, like, that is an example of how you specifically, right? Everybody's different, even though I know other people would probably have similar effects. You committed yourself to your own healing and your self-love journey of discovering all these different parts of yourself and healing them. And you really have done that. And you're, I mean, obviously in it, right? It's an ongoing process, but that's the effect of the work that you've been doing. So when people are like, what benefits do you see from therapy, or, microdosing, or all these other things that we do, like, what's the benefit of coming on the podcast and speaking vulnerably and sharing your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts and all the other things that we share on the show? Like, why would you do that? All of these things combined, that's why. Because you'd be able to speak up for yourself and express your needs. And it's beautiful, babe. I mean, I could sit here and continue to elaborate, but it's beautiful. And I hope you're proud of yourself a little bit.
I am.
Did you have awareness of that moment?
I did not. Like, you're saying that, I'm like, oh, I should have. Like, that was
a big moment.
That was a big moment, but I didn't have awareness of that. I was focused on, like, having this memory and sharing it. And I was able to be aware of that need that was filled, but I didn't have awareness of how much of a growth moment that was for me to communicate in that way. So thank you. I can write that down on my first success of the new year.
There you go. Nailed it.
Right? Wait, I checked that off the list. Now, do I get to go back to my jokes?
Yes.
Because
you're good.
Like, what?
One and done, baby. That's all you need.
It was a big one. It was a big one.
It was a big one.
So that counts for like 2,000.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
What else has come up for you? I know you said you had something at the get-go and then I distracted you.
Yeah, but I'm going to my list and I don't see it.
You don't see the thing on your list, or did you suddenly panic?
I might have deleted it.
Oh no, what was it?
I took a picture of, so I have two things right now. I see a clip that I wrote for myself, but I don't remember where I was, that I want to go back to. But I found a funny one of yours, and I'm going to tell you what I wrote.
A funny one of mine?
Well, actually, it's not funny. You know how we do those little titles of just so we can remember, that's supposed to spark the memory?
For the podcast
because,
notes?
Yeah. Because when you're in it and you just do a little shorthand, you know it's going to make sense because it'll spark the memory. And then you go back to it and you're like...
that shouldn't make any sense.
But maybe this will spark your memory.
Okay.
So, remember Craig turning his toes into coral in the ocean.
Was obviously that this is like I feel like this is a game show.
I don't remember, like,
this is like one of those couples game shows that Dax and Annie. That's what she goes by, isn't it? What's her name? Kristen Bell? I think her middle name's Annie.
Does she go by Annie?
I think so.
Anywho.
So ask me the game show question again.
Remember Craig turning his toes into coral in the ocean.
Okay, so that had to have been in the bath.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's yours. Like, it's trickling me Like, I think, I'm not sure if it was a you thing or if it was a me dreaming it thing.
Oh.
And
Did you dream it?
I'm not sure.
I have vague recollection of potentially seeing my toes as coral.
And I have vague recollection of potentially seeing you like watch this and then showing me what happens. Whoa. But we both are so visual, and when we connect, we see what the other person is saying well that
who knows where this one came from?
Who knows? Like,
that's so crazy.
So I literally have no idea if it was me or you, or what happened after that,
or before,
or
where that took place.
Right?
That's nuts.
I've got no information.
That's really weird.
So we'll just have to sit with that.
See what comes up.
And I found it. Was it today that Asher was asking you about the seashell, or was that yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it was last night when he was picking it up and playing with it and listening and stuff.
Because I was looking at the coral on the wall.
I bet you dreamt it.
That you got for me.
From, yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when you wrote that part?
No. I just took it looks like September 1st, 2021.
That's when you wrote the coral thing?
Yep.
Holy shit. Then I don't think I know anything about it. Because it seemed like whatever I'm remembering seems much sooner than that.
Yeah? Okay.
Time is so fucking wacky,
like, we
isn't
can't
it?
go off of time right now. Because I think what I'm remembering is later than that.
That's so fucking wacky. Like we had that earlier today when the title of your book.
Right?
Right. And trying to remember when that was. That plays into one of the things that's on my list is how differently time moves when you're processing emotion.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Uh-huh. And like just emotion itself, the energetic flow of emotion does not really work the same way that linear time works. Right?
Right.
And it's hard.
Or, yeah.
It's that thing of wanting it to work the way that linear time works. Right? Like if I'm upset and angry, usually I'm like, okay, I got about 5 minutes to feel this. And I give myself that 5 minutes. And then I'm like, should be done feeling this now. We've allotted you the 5 minutes to get angry. Congratulations, you connected with your emotions. You had a somatic experience. We're so proud of you. That's very mature. And now you need to move on.
Now we're done.
And you're done. Now you need to go back to being happy. Right?
How's that work?
It does not.
Yeah.
And happy's the same thing.
Gotta make it last.
Good job. Right? You're happy. You got it. You made it. Don't let it go. It's slipping through your fingers. You have to stay happy, right? You don't want this good moment to end. Time just doesn't work the way that we want it to.
No. I was just trying to sit with that for a minute. What part of that is an agreement that we made, and how changeable is it? People have a hard time sitting in joy.
Yes.
And they can much easier stay in the detriment. So what part of that is an agreement? Like, you've been told this is how it is.
Yeah.
So you accept that this is how it is. And then you experience this, which then validates it and turns it into a belief. What if you were told something different from the beginning?
Well, then I think I would definitely feel something different.
So how much of this is a program that is changeable?
I would say 100%. And, because there's always more, right?
No more ands.
And what if we look at those two emotions as just a generalization, right? We've got joy and sorrow.
Sure. And
they're on the opposite end of the spectrum. And we want to stay in joy as long as we can, and we want sorrow to be as brief as possible. And we struggle when we're ever there, right? We struggle to stay, like we struggle to stay present in the joy as long as we can, and to get out of the sorrow as quickly as we can.
Yes.
And what if that is by design? Because the goal is never the extremes. The goal is always the flow and the balance between all things. Maybe.
I don't share that same goal, I guess you said the goal is that you have
You
with
don't
that?
think the goal is balance?
Well, I understand the importance of balance, but
I
no.
have such a hard time saying that word.
Yeah, balance.
I can't say it.
You said it.
Bounce. It sounds like bounce.
That one did.
Like a bounce house. I will try very carefully.
Okay.
I'm going to write it down
You're gonna write it down.
so then I can see it.
Okay.
Balance. Balance.
Balance.
Balance.
Balance.
Here, you say it normally.
Balance.
Let me hear it again.
Balance.
See, I know the word that you're saying.
Good.
Now I'm going to try to repeat it.
Am I not? Okay.
Balance.
Say it normal.
Balance. It's
Balance.
bounce. Bounce.
Balance.
Fucking.
Am I saying it differently than
You're
you? Are you saying it differently than
I'm
me?
not saying it correctly.
Balance.
I'm saying it like I'm 4
Balance.
and I can't pronounce my L's.
Balance. I'm hearing your L's. Say it again.
Bounce.
Say it again.
Bounce.
A little bit. Oh my God. You're adorable.
Yeah. It sounds like a bounce house. Anyways, you don't think that that's the purpose in all things?
I think extremes can be good.
Right?
So I think that the growth and the amount of expansion and space that has to be possible for big joy, big bliss is huge. And I think we are supposed to feel that. And maybe the only way that we can, like, if you look at the balance, if it's big here, it's got to be big here. Like, you know, that, like the scales, right?
Yeah. Big joy's got to equal
They've
big
got to
sorrow.
equal, so it has to. So maybe in order to feel that big, the opposite end would be you have to feel the sorrow.
I totally
But
agree.
that also could be just another program. Like you have to take the good and the bad.
Right.
But everything it flows. I don't know. I'm kind of spinning off here. I think it's possible to be ridiculously happy because of your mindset. Now, I have not mastered that.
Because of your mindset.
Because of your mind. Here's an example.
Are
you ready?
I'm thinking about all those people that are like, I'm so fucking happy all the time. And you're like, you're lying to yourself and it's obvious.
True.
But go ahead.
And 100% of the time, I'm not saying like being happy, to be ridiculously happy because of your mindset it takes your space 100% of the time. Like there's got to be other emotions in there. Otherwise it is this like clown mask that you have on. But more things joyous than not. And again, my example, we went snowmobiling.
Yeah.
We had so much fun.
Yes.
Now we can look at this two different ways. The weather was cold. It was windy. There was zero visibility a lot of time with the snow drifts that was just going through, making it like whiteout conditions. Everything was super powdery. The trails were not groomed. I've never driven a snowmobile in my life, and it is not like riding a motorcycle or a four-wheeler or a jet ski.
Can I tell the funny stories about some of these parts?
You absolutely can. So I've set the stage of where I'm going.
Okay.
And
you
I'll
won't
remember.
forget.
Who knows?
Write it down.
All right, 2 parts.
So we go to this snowmobiling experience. And if you're here in Utah, we went up to Strawberry. If you're not in Utah, it's just a reservoir up in the mountains. It's actually a really beautiful place. But we went up to Strawberry Reservoir up above Heber, rented the snowmobiles, and it was kind of a really shitty day, like Steph said, right? It was cold, obviously. It's winter time. It was snowing off and on, intense wind, huge snow drifts, and everything was powder. And if you're not
deep powder.
If you're not experienced snowmobiling, if you're not an experienced snowmobiler, these are all terrible words. It's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult to keep the snowmobile in control and upright and not get lost, or not lost, but to not crash, not to tip the fucking thing over into a snowbank because the snow's so deep.
Or crash into something because sometimes, dang.
So we rent them at the lodge or the marina, whatever they call it. And the guy takes us out to where the trail starts. And as soon as he's gone, he's like, hey, the trail starts here. You can go this way. You can go that way. Good luck. Have fun.
I almost wrecked because of my visor when we just pulled away from the lodge. Like, we're like I don't know, maybe 50 feet away, and I'm
Steph
up on the bank about flipping it over.
Runs off the dock into the reservoir. But the guy leaves and we head out onto the trail, and 20 seconds later, literally 20 seconds later, Stephanie tips over into a snowbank. So our day has just begun with one of the snowmobiles being stuck in the snowbank. And I had, when they talked about getting stuck, because they're like, if you get stuck, call us, we'll come get you out. It'll cost you $40. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, oh, that's not, like, in my head, I'm like, there's no way we're going to get stuck. Like, okay,
Same
fine.
here.
Even if we get stuck, it's not hard to get unstuck, right? It's a fucking,
it's a snowmobile. It's made for the snow.
It was so hard.
It was so hard.
We got stuck so much. And we spent more time getting snowmobiles unstuck than we did
and
riding.
Upright.
Yes. We spent about 20 minutes riding snowmobiles and about 3 hours getting them unstuck and unburied.
So heavy and then packed with all the snow.
It was so hard.
There was, oh my goodness, I just had it and I lost it. Oh, damn it. Well, forget it. I lost it. Go ahead. Keep going.
That was all. Go back to what you were going to say about
goodness.
this.
No.
Journey.
Hold on. I hate it when it's gone. It's out of my mind.
Was it some of the pretty stuff that you saw?
No, not don't help. Don't help. Because you know when you have that and then it's like when you get the wrong song in your head and you're trying and you're like, now all I can hear is the lyrics.
I'm going to tweet.
Step by step.
I'm going to tweet while you think of it.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, that's helping. There was the benefit. Here it is. I remembered one of the positive things is because it was so powdery. Knock it off.
I'm just taking selfies of myself. Go ahead. Because it was so powdery.
When you would go hard and flip to the side hard, and even the snowmobile would land on you, you were fine.
Yeah.
There was so much snow that it just kind of like pushed you in, and then all you had to do was kind of move your body and get out. Like there was no pain. You like fell onto all the cushions.
Yes, that was a huge benefit. And I totally thought like the first time, because I left out my little story about Stephanie crashing 20 seconds in. It took us a minute to get that snowmobile unstuck. Somebody actually came by and helped us. Thank goodness.
You're not remembering that right. You and Asher got stuck first.
Did we?
As soon as we left, you got like boom, and then went, and then the guy.
Oh my God, I'm not remembering it.
And
right.
then the guy helped you guys get out.
Yes.
And then I was too close, and so I tried to go to the left, but the pattern in the snow, it grabbed me, and so then I crashed right after we got out.
You did not crash first.
Well, I'm the first to crash, but you were the first to get stuck. Like
that's a crash.
No, you just got over. You didn't tip over. I tipped over.
No, ours tipped over.
Did it tip over then too?
Yeah.
You guys tipped over.
Yes. 20 seconds into this,
and then I tip over in the same spot because I couldn't get it away.
So.
And then we just fell all day.
It was literally like immediately after the guy had left us. I forgot that I did it first. I thought you did it first.
I'm so happy. I thought I did it first too.
So I didn't feel, but we totally did it first. And I remember we're going. Because our son is riding on the back of mine, so I'm driving for two, and neither one of us really know what the hell we're doing, neither him or I. But in my mind, I'm like, just lean, Asher, whichever way I'm leaning.
The guy told you it was like a motorcycle.
He did. He told me it was like a motorcycle, and I have a lot of experience riding motorcycles, and that man's a fucking idiot. It was nothing like riding a motorcycle. Nothing. So those were the instructions I gave Asher. Just lean whichever way I'm leaning. So we start tipping off to the right, and I start leaning that direction, and Asher joins me, and we immediately just tip right over into the fucking snow. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, I'm going to prepare for the impact. And then it was like, oh, that wasn't bad at all. Turns out falling over in powder was very nice.
Only because there was so much snow.
Yes.
Like that's the most snow I've been in.
At no point did I get hurt in any of the crashes or falls or anything. Yeah.
Sore bodies, hurt trying to lift and pull, yes. But any crash, any flip over, anything
even
was
when
just
like you said, it did land on you.
You just like fell into a fluffy cloud.
So what's the big thing that you brought up snowmobiling for?
Oh, well, if you look, we're talking about the joy and sorrow and the balancing on it. And I'm saying it's a perspective. Now, that is not saying that those that have depression and anxiety can just happy thoughts their way out
Correct.
of it. I'm not fucking saying that.
We know that,
Because
right?
if that was the case,
Yeah, we would have been a lot happier
right?
a lot sooner.
Yeah, I am not. I suffer extremely from depression and anxiety.
You're not alone, baby.
Ooh. So, but moments. So when you tell the story of the snowmobile ride and how most of the time, we wrecked immediately and we're spent all day digging out and trying to flip over and we hardly got a ride at all and our bodies are sore. When you say it like that, can you feel the weight and just like, ugh, sounds like a horrible day.
I can. Absolutely, I can.
But our day was laughing all day. Yes, trying to catch our breaths and thinking, we're going to have a heart attack. Like, this is a lot of work. We spent the day laughing and working together and like team building and just having a good time. At one point, Asher looks behind him and he sees just like this fresh snow. And he's like, I'm making a snow angel, and just like trust falls and makes the snow angel. And so all we did all day is have an amazing day. And we laughed and we felt close. And then we went and had a good dinner and we laugh about the funny parts that would really be. So our perspective is that we had a good day.
Yes.
And we had fun. And we kept that energy, that vibration high. And it would have been just as easy to have been miserable and hated everything about it. And you can feel like that sink. You're gonna be like, or like, this was so much fun. And again, you can't be like, oh, my foot just got run over and it's smashed and I'm going to be in a cast forever and have to get surgery. Yay, happy perspective.
Yeah, like everything turned out.
Yeah, everything turned out.
But I see what you're saying, especially like I'm looking at it. I mean, there has been times when I would have had kind of like this is going to be a shitty day energy from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So like that day we're talking about, it was a long day, right? We left the house at like 10 o'clock. We had to start getting ready about 8:30, 9 o'clock. I mean, it was like this whole process to have this day experience. And it could have been just as easy for me to start off that day in that way of being upset and angry and frustrated. And then everything, right?
Would have just felt
blowing
like shit.
snow. The rental, we had the rental at 12:30. We actually didn't get on the snowmobiles until after 1 o'clock because of how long it took to get snow pants on and get this on and get that on. And don't forget this, all of those things. That could have just as easily turned, that entire day could have been a miserable day. But like you're saying, I totally agree. I mean, yes, the mindset part plays a huge role.
It does. It's an option.
It is an option.
It's an option. You have that option.
Especially like something that has such stark, obvious, good and bad things. It was cold and miserable. And we are all in excruciating pain physically from the recovery of trying to lift snowmobiles for 3 hours.
It's spent.
Yes. And we got to ride, it was an expensive trip.
Oh, yeah.
Cost-wise, to rent all this and do all these things. And we rode the snowmobiles for about 30 minutes.
Right.
So there's some things that could very easily be looked at as a shitty fucking day. And it is, on one hand.
If you look at it that way, yeah.
Right. And then the other side of it is the beautiful day that we had.
Such a good day.
Yeah.
We all had such a good day.
Yeah.
And we had funny moments. At the end of our 3-hour CrossFit for the Champions workout.
It wasn't a Tough Mudder.
Tough Mudder is
I was
like...
trying to think of a comparison.
There's none of those.
It's a tough powder.
An ultra marathon is what it was. An ultra. Isn't that the 2,000-mile run or something? We worked out harder yesterday than a 2,000-mile run with no sleep.
Yes.
That's what it felt like. It took all of my strength. And at the end, seriously, just trying to get on the snowmobile and just standing there and trying to lift my leg. It was like, come on, girl, you can do it. I couldn't lift up my leg. I had to really and kind of use my hand to lift up my leg. I was spent.
Yeah.
Spent. So when we hit that point, there was one moment right before that when we were digging out of that spot, of our last spot, where it got a little tense. Got a little tense.
For a second.
My attitude shifted a bit.
All of ours did.
We kind of like had a moment. And it was like, we got a little snappy with each other. And then we were fine. And then it just went right back away. And then we were back to supportive, working together, having a good time. And then, so.
It was a beautiful day.
I think so.
If you want to take your 15-year-old snowmobiling and make him lift up snowmobiles all day long, it's a good time.
Yes. And you can wait till the end of January, early February. And they said the trails were more packed then. Yeah. So if we ever do it again, we'll time it a little later in the season. I don't want to do yesterday again. I have positive memories. I have a very happy outlook, but I don't want to do it again. I want to go when the trails are packed and we can spend more time
cruising.
Yeah.
I do too. Yeah. We will.
Oh, you should tell about how we had to like wind sell it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we quickly learned that leaning into the falls and the turns did not help. So then the counter was get your ass over on the other side of the snowmobile as far as you possibly can.
Like hanging off like you are. What are those like wind cells things? Is that what they are?
No,
like those
it's a sailboat
that you have to get on the other side and
they're
pull?
catamarans, I think is what it's called. They're not cataracts.
Not cataracts?
I think they're catamarans because they have the two holes.
Yeah.
That's the word. Okay. I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
I think I can see it in my head.
Yeah, and it's the team of people that are selling them, right? And they've got like the hand cranks to lower and raise the sails, and then everybody's got to lean over to make the turn, or depending on how the wind's blowing. Anyways, we did that on the
snowmobile, and we got good.
We did. Steph and I were riding together the majority of the time, and it was good. Yeah.
We had to work hard.
Hung our asses off to the side as far as we can. What was funny too is that, I mean, when I picture snowmobiling, I picture like fast and plowing through powder and going up over hills, and it's like this huge adventure. Everything that we've been talking about today, we were doing like 15 miles an hour. If there were deer out, there weren't because it was winter, but if they would walk by us as we were cruising. And just look over.
Trying to not flip. Yeah, now, it could have been user like issues too, just because we're not experienced. You've done it once. Have you done it more than once?
No.
So you've done it once.
I did it once like 8 years ago.
Yeah. And Asher and I have not.
Yeah.
So it was like.
It was a sight. Somebody definitely filmed it.
With us hanging off the side while we're going like 2 miles an hour. Like,
yeah, we're not going to crash this time. Dude, you're literally going faster than a walk, like barely.
And there were times we would try to really like vroom to get through the powder, and then that didn't work. That just for sure made you crash. So it's like you can't even like power through it. The only time that worked was at the end. And I don't know if it was because you were going to then Hulk out and pick up the snowmobile and smash it if it didn't work. But then when you were able to get them flipped, and then just like, because our trails had completely blown over. So even going back the way we came, it wasn't like we had our trails to go over. The weather had gotten worse. There was huge drift. So we couldn't see. I thought we were going the wrong way. But luckily, now keep in mind, I was like watching behind me the majority of the time to keep an eye on Asher so I could tap you if he crashed.
It was very relaxing.
But then we couldn't see. And so you had to go plowing through that fresh snow that's no trail.
Yeah.
With such badassery. You got us to the road.
I was doing 15 miles an hour. How badass I was.
I cheered. Did you hear me cheer? Sorry. When you made it, I was like, wow! Like pure joy. It was like, we're going to live.
We didn't have to dig those fuckers out again.
I was so happy. And then I had to try and walk to the road. And I'm like, this is where I'm just leave me here. Just leave me here. Save yourselves.
I'm dying. I had a thing that popped up during this episode. I realized we have been talking a lot lately, the two of us. I'm going to get this thought out.
Okay.
You and I have been having a lot of really good connection lately, and a lot of really good intimate conversations with each other. And they've been, sometimes those type of conversations that we have are hard, and it's not because we're just talking about hard things, but sometimes they're just kind of like hard to move through. Do you know what I mean? It's very content driven sometimes, of course. Sometimes we're talking about like really difficult things that take like a lot of time and patience. But what I'm talking about is just that aspect of like sometimes it's just a struggle to get through some of those conversations. We haven't had that lately. We've been talking a lot, and it's been very easy and connected. And you had, I don't know if it, seriously, I'm going to get this thought out.
I believe you.
I don't know if you had this thought before, or if this is a thought that just recently came to you, or came to you just that night. You have 3 options. Let me write these down for you.
I don't know what the thought is first.
What's your favorite thing to talk about is?
Oh, how much we love each other.
Yeah. Like she had this cute little awareness of like what she likes to talk about the most. Like when you get together with your partner, you kind of have things that you're talking about, right? Things that's going on in your things that are going on in your life, or, you know, ongoing themes that you're kind of discussing, or whatever it is, you have go-to topics that you discuss.
You asked me the question, what's your favorite thing to talk about?
Yeah. And then you had that cute awareness of like us and how much we're in love with each other and our love and how it looks and how it matters, all these different things. And that's kind of what we fucking do on the podcast.
We do. It's like our number one topic.
Yeah, is our love.
How lucky are we?
I know, it's
like,
kind of interesting. Like I feel, part of me feels really, really, all of me feels really, really happy, not part of me.
Yeah.
But then I also am like, sorry if it's all sappy and gooey and to the people out there listening, but obviously people like it. But that's kind of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Talking about how much we love each other in this beautiful journey of ours.
We say it in so many different ways, from expressing how we're feeling to being very present with the other person to being supportive. Just like most of our conversation, it's not like, I love you. No, I love you. It's not that. It's like sharing your life and celebrating together and getting through hard things together and having these conversations. And like, that's talking about how much we love each other. Just that is that expression, to have that expression.
Yeah.
I did not have awareness of it before. It was in the moment, and it wasn't even like awareness. I was kind of making a joke, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like a hope, and it's like, what do I really? And that was what I at that moment wanted, and was just like talking about how much we love each other. I'm like, that's such a girl thing. But it was what I wanted. Like, I like that. And I wanted it in that moment. And then it was that awareness of that's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing again. That's what we always do. So what I wanted is the very thing that we have. And now I have all this awareness, and it keeps happening. And I'm like, this is awesome.
It's beautiful.
Right. See, and I'm riding on these waves, and then you come in, it's like we either get along or it's shit. I'm like, oh, what? I wasn't ready for that. I thought I'm over here just like climbing. Yep, it does suck when we're over there.
I realized too, because we were joking. Oh my goodness. During that conversation that we're talking about now, and how you had this realization of this thing, we were joking. I'm sharing now with you guys that are listening. We were joking about what I like to talk about all the time as sex. And so it's like always the conversation that, you know, hey, what should we talk about? Oh, let's talk about sex.
We do that quite a bit too.
We do. And I'm realizing now in this brand new moment that I just got done talking about how, we talk about how much we love each other on this podcast. And that's kind of like, and then what's the other thing that we talk about on this podcast?
We talk about our favorite things.
Yes. On the podcast all the time. Yeah.
You're welcome.
How much we love each other and fucking. Well, that's the goal from the beginning was create content that I would want to watch and listen.
Well, there you go. Doing it.
Right? Talking about my 2 favorite things all the time.
Oh my goodness.
I see you brought your papers up.
I know, but it doesn't fit into all this right now, and I'm not in the space.
Are you sure?
I will share one really cool thing.
Okay.
But that is it.
Okay.
And I'll pull it so I have the exact degrees, even though I'm not sure that matters to everyone. So, oh, I'm nervous.
I know.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
You can do it.
I'm like, my jaw is paining, and you hear my words? I'm stroking out. Wow, I got way nervous.
You can do it.
I guess this is the start of what is to come. So this will be my practice, my introduction.
Yes.
So I've been taking astrology classes, and I'm still taking. It's like I'm on like moving up through the levels and just really embracing this newfound passion.
Some Jedi training.
Oh man, I got to remember to exhale. I am so nervous. I'm loving this, and it is not something that I have like basic, and by basic I mean like basic. I knew what my sun sign was, but I didn't like realize that was just like sun sign. I was like, I know what my I didn't even think I said zodiac. I think I said I know what my horoscope is, like basic. I knew what that was, and I would read it and hope for that connection, and most of the time it didn't really hit. So sometimes it did, or I'd want it to, or whatever. I knew. So that's like the extent. And then
of your kind of experience.
Of my experience.
Okay.
And then loving the stars. Just loving looking up, having an obsession with Jupiter, but not like, so everything is like I have like this idea of and this understanding, but not knowledge. So everything, I was like kindergarten, maybe preschool. I was like preschool level, and now I have to learn all this. So there is so much, and I'm overwhelmed.
Yes.
By like how much, because everything is brand new, and my brain is just like, whew, and I keep going off on my own and finding all these other information and finding all these rabbit holes. And so everything is just like, I am feeding right now.
You're downloading a ton of information.
So much. So with that, I'm also nervous that I don't have enough brain space for everything, that I'm not going to get it, that I'm going to always have to use my notes. So I'm hesitant and I'm shy, which is why I'm not really putting it all out there yet. Even though I'm doing great and I'm ready, I'm like, I'm not ready, and I'm not ready to talk about it.
Yeah, here we are.
And so I did a thing, right? I am all Twitter.
You almost swallowed that fucking microphone.
I'm doing that thing from the past where I would like beat around the bush and
Yes.
explain it. I'm like, here's why I'm going to suck at
By
this.
the way, I can never hear you say beat around the bush again and not have incredible fantasies run through my head. I just want you to be aware of that.
Oh, I hear it now.
Okay. And it's been that way for a while.
Okay.
But I will never hear you say that. Actually, I'll never hear that phrase being spoken again and not picture you doing some incredible things. Anyhow, go ahead.
Okay.
So yes, you are beating around the bush.
Okay. Nice segue into one of my discoveries. So it's just like I'm really learning about me and about people in my life, because I'm pulling charts and I'm doing some readings out there that for practice. And so I'm just getting like these other understandings and soaking up all of this information and learning. And it's so fascinating. It's so cool. I have never been more like felt more seen, have been called out. Like it is right there. It's in the stars. It's in the planets. It's not for interpretation while there is. It's just like, it's so spot on. It's blowing me away. But the cool thing, if anybody's still listening,
everybody's on the edge of their seat,
is finding where you and I, because we talk all the time about how we've been here before and we go on and this isn't our time. We've been so many different places, and finding things in both of our charts that support that is just fascinating.
Yeah.
So to keep it simplified, you can look at like your karma and dharma. So when you look at your future self, or what you're here to learn, what your goal is to move on, and what you've already learned, your past lives, if you look at it in a linear version, or if you don't believe in past lives, whatever you would interpret that as. whatever energy you have. So where you've started, what you've already achieved, and where you're going. And so in both of our charts, we are both headed in the same direction. Our dharma is going one way, and our karma and everything that we've already like been through and mastered is at the same spot. So it shows we've literally been there together, and we're literally moving in the same direction together. And so I'm like, that's awesome. And then today, going through it, I noticed, because I knew that both of our moons, which is your emotional body and where you need to be nurtured and how you receive love and just like what you need to feel safe and comforted.
Take a deep breath.
I know, I'm so excited though, and I'm so nervous. I know I'm talking fast. This is hard.
You're doing great.
This is going to be so hard for me to start to talk about more on the podcast. This is going to be a stretch for me.
Explain to them why that's so hard for you. Because you would think like you talk about all sorts of stuff on the podcast. Why would this thing be hard for you to talk about? Do you know what I mean? Why do you think that is?
I don't like being called out. Thank you very much.
I thought it was an interesting question. I'm curious myself. What comes up for you?
I don't feel good enough. I don't feel smart enough. I just feel like I'm going to get it all wrong, that I am getting it wrong, and that I'm not going to be of service to anyone. And that I'm just going to, there's all the fears that could come with the failure. So it's that big failure. And then, Ooh.
So just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Okay, so back to the moons.
Okay.
Moon's over my hammy. Baby, I'm just in here pumping out the puns left and right to help with your vulnerability. Emotional overdose here.
Yeah.
But back to the moons.
I'm having a hard time with this. And I'm feeling bad that I'm so nervous about it and that I've rambled this whole time and like went too fast, and that's okay. So our moons are in the same sign, and they're at the same degree. So what we figured out is when I was born and when you were born, where the planets and everything were rotating, the moon was in the exact same spot in the sky for both of our births. That's over a year apart. And it was off by, it was like we were both 26 degrees, and I was 55 minutes and you were 59 minutes. So the moon was like 4 minutes off from being in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
Both of our births. And I think that is freaking amazing.
I think it is too.
It's so cool. I was like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
That is so cool. And so I'm excited to dive more, and like, I want to know why, not why, but like what that means and what other things
represents and symbolizes. I think it's everything that we talk about all the time.
I think it is too.
That's exactly what it means. Like we talk all the time about how we know each other, and like, I've been looking for you my whole life, and we basically lived,
the other side of the mountain,
just undoubtedly crossed paths and all of those things. That's what it means. It's not a mistake, obviously.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool.
It's amazing. I think it's way, way cool. I think it's cool that you can know that. Do you know what I mean? Right. I love when you're telling me all this stuff and all of it is going over my head. And it's hard for me to like understand everything that you're talking about. Oh. But it's not because...
That's why I'm afraid to talk about it. Because I don't make sense.
You make all the sense in the world. It's just a different language.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to explain the language to the people on the podcast when you start talking about this stuff.
I will get better at that.
You're
I am
doing
still
great.
Learning, and it is very much, I am absorbing a significant amount of information. Yes. And my brain is like...
It's on overdrive.
It is on overdrive. And it's not leaving room for anything else. So...
I've noticed. Yeah. She's been a little preoccupied. That's okay. We're both super creative right now.
Right?
Yeah, we're super into the flow of expansion and creation, and we're literally creating our expansion right now. Everything that we're doing right now is laying the groundwork for the expansion that is taking place.
Correct.
So
I feel it.
me too.
So big.
It's definitely what she said.
She did.
That is the first time this episode that I have said that, but it's about the 400th time that I've thought it.
Yeah.
There's been a lot in this episode.
Do you want to tell your pussy joke?
No.
Oh, why
I'm
not?
too embarrassed to
Are
tell
you?
my pussy joke because it's a really good joke and I
It
want
is
to
really
do
good.
it. I want to do it justice. And right now I don't have my full capacity to do it justice.
Okay.
So I don't
So
want
you
to tell the pussy joke.
Get that it's hard to talk about astrology.
Yes. It's hard to talk about
You
astrology.
can get on here and talk about everything else. Why can't you tell the joke, Craig? Tell him I'm interested. Why?
I was just calling you out from the perspective of like, that's interesting. And it's like, oh yeah, I bet you there's something there. Right? Because it's so counter to how you are on the podcast. So
I've had a lot of practice.
yes. So it was it how you're behaving now about talking about astrology is how you just used to talk on the podcast. Back in the day, we'd be like, what's going on with you today?
I hate it so hard.
What's going on with you?
My favorite thing would be like, you talk, babe, or ask me a question. And then I'm like, I still can't respond to that. You know, in those Facebook groups, they ask you silly questions. One was like, one person, dead or alive, who you would like to have tea with and why. And I was like, have I met a person? Do I know people? Who like, can I
I'm going to need
can
you
I
to break
Google?
down that sentence
Give
more.
me some names, Google.
When you say people or person, what do you mean?
I couldn't do it. Finally, I'm like, I hate questions that put you on the spot like this. I have no idea. And that's all I could answer. And I'm like, this is my moment. I want it to be profound. Who would it be? I'm just like,
Got nothing.
all that's coming to mind was like ridiculous things like Elvis. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm wasting tea on. Like, yes, I love the king, but no.
Right.
So all of these things, I'm like, who would it be? Who would be the person? Like, I want it to.
You know what would suck so bad?
What?
Is if you pick like your dream person
Uh-huh.
and you have this vision of who they are. And it's like, let's just pretend that I want to talk to William Shakespeare, right?
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of his work and I love Shakespeare and all of his stuff. So I want to sit down and talk to him. And I'm so excited because I know all of his plays and I've thought about like, I even have some stupid memorabilia of like where he was born. By the way, it was Stratford-on-Avon, but
Wow.
anyways.
I just learned something new about you.
So then the day actually comes when you get to sit down and break bread with Shakespeare.
Uh-huh.
And he's like dumb as fuck. And like he's totally incapable of carrying on a conversation.
It's like having a conversation with Garth Brooks now that we know how he is.
Yes.
Like you got this image and then you
Yes.
got Garth.
Exactly. I have this image of Shakespeare in my head and I can't wait to pick his brain and get to spend 2 hours with him and just hear all the wisdom that comes from his mouth. And maybe he just tells dick jokes the entire
Right?
time. Right. Like the guy that's serving tea comes in and he's like, oh, some whatever.
I'd like to teabag that.
See the tea bags on that guy?
You said Shakespeare and it popped into my head. I know who the person would be. I can tell it now. I
who
wonder
is
if
it?
I can go back and change my answer. Brandi Carlile.
Would you
I
love
would
it?
choose Brandi. Brandi, I choose you.
Yeah, and she would not disappoint.
I don't think she would disappoint. And I would be like, if you would like to have it a spouse tea, you bring Catherine, I'll bring Craig. It'll be a
Yes.
thing. We'll all get together and have tea. I'll cry the whole fucking time. It'll be fine.
Yes, you would.
I think I would be cool. I think I could play it cool.
Is she okay over there? She's fine. She's perfectly fine, Brandi. She's got a box of tissues. We'll make sure that just sign something for her. She'll be just fine.
Every time she would like look at me and say something that I would probably just be like,
Yeah. I've thought about
I love you.
the questions that we would ask people on the podcast. That's so expansive of a statement.
Yeah. You should write those down Because I've also, not often, and not as, but I've watched you get like dumbfounded at the same point. You know how you can't like speak and just like, so if you.
Like when we have guests on or something?
Oh, no. But, okay, my point. So situations where instead of being able to hold your own and
are you talking about when I get all tongue-tied and
yes,
run
that's
into
what I
walls
said
and stuff?
Exactly. So that does happen. So you have
Do you
that
want to
trait
tell
as
the
well.
time that you're thinking of, jerk story?
I want to get my point across because it's a good point, especially with all the momentum that we have this year.
Let's hear it.
You should write these down because we will start having these people on our show, and then you're going to be sitting there. You know I'm going to be useless. I can't think of a question now. You ask me who I want to have tea with, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like, but you should write them down now. So when you have that, you have your list and you can talk, because you can play it off if you have a little bit of a drive. I'll try to distract you or get your brain back on check, and I will flash my boobs and it'll make it worse. So
I think
unless
you'll
you
do
want my
just
tits
fine.
out the entire time
Yes.
while you're trying to talk to Brandi Carlile, I won't flash you if you come on the podcast, but I want you to come on the podcast. I might flash him to keep his brain in the game. You know, it's like when you slap a hysterical person when you're over there, and if you can like focus boobs, because we know that
You slap a hysterical person?
that's what they. Okay, I'm panicking. I'm really panicking. No, they show on the TV when somebody's and they're like,
Oh, hey, snap out of it.
boom, snap out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be. I'm talking really fast. I'm really nervous.
You're good. Let's wrap up. We
Okay.
got stuff to do. I'm wrapping because it's time. Not because you were rambling about showing Brandi your boobs during an interview.
That's not what. Fuck. I know that's how that came out, but that's not what was.
She
being
really won't,
said.
Brandi. She'll just cry the whole time.
Jesus,
She'll be in the
yeah.
corner sobbing. Go follow us on Instagram. Also this year, don't get embarrassed.
I already am. Keep going. Just end this shit. Pull the plug.
We've got a Clips channel on YouTube. You can find it. It's easy if you follow us. And hopefully you're enjoying. If you're enjoying 2 episodes a week, let us know. We would love some feedback if you're digging double the episodes in 2022. And thank you for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Goodbye.